Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the Thoughtfully Made Fiber podcast. My name is Amy, and I'm your host. I'm a knitter, a spinner, and a sewist. And I am also a piano teacher by trade. I'm coming to you from Southern California in Los Angeles County, where I live with my spouse, Roy, and 2 kids. So, thank you, first of all, for watching. I'm so amazed that at the time of this recording on March 13th, almost 1,000 of you have watched my previous episode, and I have over 200 subscribers. So thank you all so much for joining me and for spending a little time with me today. So I hope you really enjoy your time with me today, and it can be a bit of rest for you during this time. The last few weeks have been really difficult since I recorded my last episode. It's been a year since the pandemic started. A year with no childcare, no in-person socialization, no yarn shops. My local yarn shop is open, but not doing public knitting. So it's been really challenging to kind of do everything on my own. I'm really grateful that my whole family is healthy and that soon we'll all be able to get the vaccine. So we're just kind of biding our time trying to get through it. But today I wanted to talk to you a little about kind of one of the things I miss the most about my local yarn shop. I remember when I first started to knit, my first cardigan went swimmingly. Like, everything went really well. I didn't need that much help. And then Roy helped me pick out this yarn for my second garment, which is a sweater, the one I'm wearing now. This is the Sibella pullover. I'm gonna get up so you can see it. This is by Carrie Bostic Hoge, I think is how you pronounce her name. It's a bottom up with shaping, with waist shaping, and it's got this beautiful little lace yoke going on. Look at that. This is knit from a yarn called Metallico. It's by Blue Sky Fibers, and it's a single ply, 50% silk, 50% alpaca, and this is a natural undyed shade. And it's a beautiful yarn, and I think it shows up really nicely in the lace, as you can see. But I remember when I was knitting it, I had kind of endless trouble. It was really hard to get the tension even because it's single ply and it's got silk content, so it always wanted to kind of lean a certain way, and then the stitches looked really uneven. I had such a hard time getting it even, and I remember this is like the most expensive thing I've ever done crafts-wise, and I was so, at the time, and I was so worried that it wouldn't turn out, so I went to my yarn shop, and the lovely people there, the owners, sat with me and looked at it, and they were like, oh, it is a little wonky, but it'll block. In fact, one of them said that she had knit something from, what is it called? Techno, from the same company, which is a kind of a bulky version. And she said that it literally looked like roadkill, like actual roadkill. It was such a mess, but it'll block. It blocked out. And I remember that was the first time I ever heard the phrase it'll block, which is, you know, if you've been knitting and you've been around a while, you've heard that as a response to like kind of any mistake that can be made. But that's the first time I heard of that, and that's the kind of thing I miss, is like having that personal connection, that person to person skill sharing. The fact that that even though I wasn't taught to knit in person, I'm actually self-taught, I was able to find other knitters who passed down all kinds of knowledge to me, and I think that's the thing that we're all kind of craving a little. And actually later I wore this sweater to Taiwan to visit my family, and my aunt told me that my grandma was actually a super prolific knitter, In fact, her career was in crochet garment pattern design. So she designed patterns for like a factory where people would make crochet garments for sale. So that's what I found out about my grandma through the making of the sweater, and through wearing it around my aunts. And it's just so funny that I didn't learn knitting from her, and I certainly didn't even know she was such a prolific knitter. So even though the passing down of knowledge and skills kind of skipped a generation, I still somehow found it in the end. And I think the network of knitters that shares skills and shares these common experiences of a block is more important than ever before, especially after this last year. So it's really got me thinking about the different kinds of ways we pass down stories and skills and common experiences through knitters. And that's why I also recorded a little piece of music, Mo Li Hua, which is a song that I used to hear my grandma sing all the time. And that's the music that you heard at the start of today's episode. So I hope you really, enjoyed a little moment of quiet. Enjoyed some footage from some of the things that I did this week. So the other thing I'm wearing now is this shawl. This is a shawl I knit from some fiber that I hand carded myself. Also kind of skill share, tool share with a friend. My friend Jen at 626 Yarns loaned me her hand cards, and Lindsay at Artifacts of Appreciation sent me a kit of different fibers that she was carding up into shawl yarn. So I hand carded the fiber into Rollags, and I spun from that a kind of a sports to DK weight yarn, and I knit the Be Simple variation shawl, which is knit from one end to the other and is triangle shaped. And it's just like the perfect little shawlette. I like this pattern a lot. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. I will not link that below just in case it causes any health problems for anybody, but message me if you have trouble accessing it. The Be Simple Variations shawl. I'll also put all the information about everything else I've talked about in the description box below, and also this episode will be fully captioned, so if you need to turn any of those things on, it's there. So this is the first shawl that I've made from my hand spun, and I'm so proud of it. I love the way I didn't do too many pass-throughs with the carded fiber, so it created this interesting striping variegation from all the different fibers that I used for it. So that's what I'm wearing. All right, so now let's move on to some finished objects. So my first finished objects for this week is something I knit for 2 knit-alongs. At the end of this episode, I'll be talking about one that I'm running, the Knit Diverse knit-along. But I also knit this same pattern for the Aloha knit-along, which is a knit-along being run by Aroha Knits and Layla Raven. So I've decided to knit the Mauna hat by Layla Raven, and this is my Mauna hat. I cast on and finished within 3 days, so it was a really quick knit. It is knit up in a sport weight yarn, knit at a sport weight gauge, and I chose it because I thought the mountain motif in the color work and the Latvian braid detail here might show up really well in some hand spun. So that is what I've done. I've knit it using some Brooklyn Tweed Puri, and I'll put the color in the description box below, and some hand spun. So this is the hand spun that I used for it. It's got like pinks and greens and blues all throughout, and I just think that it created a really nice gradient. This fiber was part of the Nest Fiber Club from last quarter, and this was the December colorway called Nostalgia. It's dyed on a Rambouillet base and it's super bouncy and nice. I really enjoyed this yarn. It spun up really bouncy, and when I washed it, it went like sprung, like the crimp all came rushing back into the fibers, and it shrank. Like the loop, the hank that I had wound off ended up much smaller after the wash, which was really fun. So here is the half skein I have left of it, and this is the rest of the like 48 grams that I started with. So as you can see, this hat is really really good with the yardage. Like the yardage will go a long way with it. So I might have to make some like micro stripe mitts or maybe another hat. I haven't decided yet, but there's so much more to love here. And again, that's from Nest Fiber. The way I finished this yarn was a little bit different. For the first time, I tried to do a felted fold situation. So I cooked hot water over the stove until it was, I want to say like 180, 190 degrees, like kind of that glass stage. And then I plunged my yarn into my finished yarn into it, which was a little scary until it was lightly felted. So after I lightly fold it, it makes it a much more strong yarn, but at the same time it lost a little bit of that bounce. So once I washed it and it like the crimp bounced back, there's not much stretch to it anymore after that. So that's exciting. My first fold yarn. I did spin it kind of semi-woolen because that's my preferred draw. I do kind of like a short backwards draw with twist through my drafting hand. So that is what I did for this hat. I think I will put a palm on it. I think I'm going to do one of those like purchased alpaca palms. So the next time I record, hopefully I'll have a palm to show you. But for now, let's put it on so I can show you kind of what it looks like. I made the slouchy version because I wanted to use as much yarn as possible for the hand spun colors. So there is the hat. It's kind of like a really slouchy. Oh, it's very difficult for me to style a hat because my hair is kind of a mess with pandemic hair. But that's kind of the gist of it. So that is a cute hat. I'm very excited about this pattern. I'll probably knit at least one more. Maybe the beanie version. And then for the Puri, I really only used a single skein. This is actually already a scrap from another project I knit as a preview knitter for Brooklyn Tweed. And I basically used only like 35, maybe 40 grams of this. So it's a very nice yarn efficient situation. Okay, so my next finished object is a little sweater. This is the Alpenglow cardigan for children by Jessica McDonald. I knit this using recovered yarn from a project I'll show you in a minute, but I had this yarn just sitting around because I ripped it from a sweater that didn't fit. Not the designer's fault, my fault. And I have all this Woolfolk Luft, which is a beautiful yarn sitting around. It is an kind of like Aran light chunky weight yarn that is a cotton cage, and then they shoot like the merino through it, so it's really plush and soft. I love this design. I like this so much. I actually cast on another one for my older child, but this is the size 12 to 18 month. So it has this interesting drop stitch detail that makes these nice big plushy almost cable like bits. And it's actually designed for more buttons, and there's more buttonholes. But I asked Roy if he thought that he would ever use more buttons if I sewed on more buttons, and he said no. So we only attached the one button to the top. And it's a cropped little cardigan, so it'll be really cute over little dresses. And I think because it's got a lot of cotton content, it'll be really nice for the spring. And I enjoyed test knitting that so much that that I'm making another one. So this one is this size 6, and I just finished the body with all the drop stitches, and you can tell it's reclaimed yarn because my tension is, well, like my local yarn shop owner would say, it's like roadkill. It's awful, but hopefully it will block out. This yarn really stands up to ripping. I've ripped it so many times because when I was knitting the original adult sweater that I was knitting from it, I made a mistake. I think I knit it in the wrong needle during that test. I was testing a pattern for, I think it was Whitney Hayward. I'll put it below here in the caption. But I knit an entire piece, like the front piece, completely on the wrong needle size. So I ripped it and reknit it, and then I reknit both sleeves too. So this is what's left of that sweater. This is the Ramsey sweater. But I ended up knitting the wrong size. My fault. I just knit like a too small size for me. I didn't realize, like, I was still pretty new to knitting this shape at the time, and I didn't realize how much ease I would want. So this is what's left. I've ripped everything else. I still have quite a bit of yarn left, so I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that once I finish Kaylee's Alpenglow sweater. So again, both of these cardigans are by Jessica McDonald. The pattern is not gonna be out by the time this is published, but once it is out, I'll add a link below. I'll come back and amend it so that if you're watching it at a later time, there'll be a link to the pattern. It's a great one. All right, so that's kind of a work in progress, finished object. I wanted to also show you a little progress on my Earth and Air sweater. So this one is a project that's sponsored on my Instagram, but not here. The materials were provided to me by Fancy Tiger Crafts, and I'll link to them below, but I won't spend too long talking about this, but basically it's a brioche pullover by James Watt, the Earth and Air, and it's knit in 2 contrasting weights, 1 lace and 1 worsted. And I'll put all the details below of the yarns I used, but I'm loving it. It's coming along, and I've split for the front and back. So that's kind of where I am. It's knit on size 10.5 needles, but I've got some like size 8 needles or something holding it right now. So there's that. So next, I'd like to talk about some of my recent acquisitions. The first is these yarns from Neighborhood Fiber Co. So this one, with the beautiful speckling, it's got some blue and purple speckles, is called Fog Point. And this one is in their Studio Sock, which is like an 8-ply cable ply yarn, so it should be super strong. It is 100% organic merino, and it is sock weight. It'll be a little heavier because it's 400 yards for 4 ounces, which is a little bit more weight than usual. It's like more than 100 grams. So this one I will be giving away as one of the prizes for the Knit Diverse Knit Along. And if you're interested in joining us for a knit along with lots of cool prizes, I'll put all the details below, but the long story short is just that it's a knit along where we're celebrating designers and yarn makers of color, as well as LGBTQIA designers and yarn producers. So all you have to do to enter is use the hashtag #KnitDiverseKnitAlong and post a picture on Instagram of the progress that you're making during the knit along, with a pattern or yarn from a historically marginalized community. So this is going to be one of the prizes that I give away. This one is for me. I couldn't purchase a prize without also buying something for myself. And this is their Studio DK, which is also organic merino. This is in the colorway Cooper Circle. It's so beautiful. I'm thinking I might make like a hat or an accessory, and actually it might go well with like the rest of this yarn. Wouldn't that be nice? I still have to think about this some more, but I really wanted to try one of their yarns out for myself because I've been admiring their work from afar for a long time. So I'm glad to finally try their fiber out. So that's one prize. This one's for me, and this one's a prize. Another prize knit along will be this here. This is 50 grams of hand spun that I created from a bat made by Sunny Side Up Crafts, who I'll link below. This was spun from one of her geode bats. They're super nice. They're merino and stellina and all kinds of other stuff, and this one's got like some sparkles in it. Don't know if you can see. Oh, I love it. I've been hoarding this for the longest time. It's kind of like a sports DK weight, and I spun it kind of thick and thin. I basically just spun it like the way the bat wanted me to spin it, like whichever way it wanted to run into the orifice. That's what I did. So this one would be really nice as an accent or for color work or really anything. So this is another prize I'll be giving away. And then let's see, what other prizes do I have to show you today? I've got these gorgeous stitch markers. I've shown these before on Instagram Live, but it's worth showing these sets again. Oof, look at that. These were made by Nick Wong at Artifacts of Appreciation. I purchased a set and separated out a bunch, that's this one here, to give away as this prize. And because I asked consent from every maker that I'm featuring for prizes, I asked Lindsay at Artifacts of Appreciation if I could use these for a giveaway, and Nick kindly made me a whole set to give away. So this is one of the sets we'll be giving away. Oof, focus. Autofocus is not working with me today. That's okay. So these two sets I'll be giving away. So there's quite a few prizes that I'm not showing here, but they exist because the maker of those prizes, the generous donors, will actually be sending them directly to the winners. And there's no completion requirement. Every prize is a work in progress prize because I want to kind of take into consideration like different sizes could take different time frames to knit, and personally I have chronic pain, so sometimes I can't knit at all and make any progress. So no completion requirement. It's really laid back. It's just a party. We're just celebrating. So the other prize that I'm really excited to show, which just got here yesterday, is these. So real talk, I've never been able to get stitch markers from Hello Lavender because her updates always sell out like immediately. So I emailed her, Reshma, all the way back in December asking if I can reserve some stitch marker sets to give away for this knit along. And Reshma kindly decided to send me these as gifts for you to give away. And these are from her latest pre-order collection. Let me just show you them. Oh, look at that. It's got this beautiful plant. Oh, I want to keep it so bad, but this will be a giveaway for a prize. Reshma has a really nice Mean Girls themed collection coming out, which I really hope I can get some. But I'm not really good at like putting on an alarm and sitting there for an update and then like trying to fight everybody else online for it. So I'm not sure I'll be successful, but here's the other set. Oh, so pretty. That kind of looks like eucalyptus to me, this right here. So each set comes with, all of them are claw markers, so you can use them either as a stitch marker or as a, what are they called? Progress keeper. They're progress keepers. So these two I'll be giving away as prizes, and I'll be announcing these, the drawings for these on my Instagram, which is @AmySureMakes. Basically the week before I draw them, I'll be announcing them. So these are kind of like a sneak preview. So that's everything I have to show physically for the knit along. There'll also be patterns, some purchased by me and some generously gifted by designers, given away throughout the knit along. So do check my Instagram out if you'd like to qualify for these prizes. There'll be patterns from Emma at Bloom Create, Tammy Gore, Rastus Shoot, and Layla Raven. So thank you to all the creators who have generously donated your time and your products so that we can celebrate diverse knitters together. Yeah, I'm just really grateful that so many people have joined the party, and I've seen so many wonderful projects already, and I can't wait to see what else you all have. So if you stuck with me this far, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed spending a little time with me today, going over all the things that I have, and that you had a nice time. Let me know if there's anything you particularly loved or want to see more of. Hopefully I'll be recording at about every other week intervals. So if you enjoy this kind of content and you'd like to see more and come back and spend some more knitting time with me, please do subscribe. You can also click on the little bell to get a notification from YouTube. And you can also find me on Instagram at Amy Sure Makes. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.